A-Town. Crazy.
Hey everybody, welcome to the News London Brunch. We are going to discuss our topic tonight, handling dysfunctional families while breaking generational curses. Something that is very common in our community. I mean, other communities as well, but we're working on this one. Before we get started tonight, just wanted to introduce the audience. We have some lovely kings on the panelist tonight. So we're going to get a lot of male point of views on this. I'd like to hear from our leaders. We're trying to gain our leaders back in this world, and that starts with our kings, our men. So we're going to get candid. We're going to probably get messy, and we're going to get real truthful here. So if anybody is watching this episode, we hope we don't offend you. We don't mean to defend you, but the truth does hurt, so the clip will be unloaded. Now, before we get started, I want to just ask everybody briefly how they feel tonight about this topic. Couple phrases. Gainsborough, we're going to start with you because you always quick and straight to the point, brother.
Well, I'm going to make it sweet and easy. First, R.I.P. to Gangsta Boo.
Oh, absolutely.
It's a Memphis rapper, so you know what I mean? Got the homie lyrics in here, so we're going to do that. But you know what I mean? I'm a reserve mine like I usually do and pass it on to Catherine.
Since we playing hot potato tonight and I'm not fully inspired yet, and I just kind of was rushing around, I'm going to go ahead and pass it to my boy A-Town.
That's what I'm talking about. Get me out the way, Duke. I told you I wanted to go first in the first place.
Yeah, but we just introduced you first.
Nah,
Introduction, Duke.
Listen, check this out. This is what we're going to do, right? I don't got the answer. And you don't got the answer neither, Sway. That's why we playing hot potato. You know what I'm saying? Because if we had the answer, we'd be doing it as opposed to talking about how we going to do it.
We do have the answer.
Said, I don't got the answer, Sway.
I do.
You know what? Well, you know what? Listen, man. I guess we're gonna listen to you for an hour, or what you for 30 and lyrics for the other 30, because everybody else got the bewildered face. So I'm gonna get some gems because I do a lot of talking, but what I will say is the generation, the dysfunction, you gotta I know this girl that be doing some weird shit and she be like really like self-destructing, like I'm on my Catherine with the likes. Wait, hold on, like it's crazy because she would talk about the trauma that she's been through and stuff like that, and the type of individuals that she would have in her life, and it's like comfort, like people will be comfortable in a delusion, so they will surround themselves with people, places, and things that won't allow them to grow from that or overcome the shit. Like, it's because it's crazy, because once they get challenged, it's like they buck, or they like it's so horrible, like, oh, don't challenge, but they want to get out of it, but it just be caught in the comfortability of the shit, and it's like a vicious cycle. I noticed that about this individual and several others, me as well. I was lost in a delusion for a bit, but you know what I'm saying, once you can see it, and like, you gotta want to help and know, but see, you gotta really identify that it's a problem, because if they don't see that it's a problem, there's nothing to fix. You know what I'm saying? So that's like with the you know what I'm saying, the dysfunction, like, you know what I'm saying, because at times everything that's natural ain't normal, and things that's normal ain't natural. So certain things the abstract might work for you, but if there's like a dysfunction, like, you gotta like, yo, come on, like, this isn't right. Like, your spirit will tell you like the shit ain't right. Like, something inside will tell you like, nah, something's wrong with this picture. I might not be able to put my finger on it, but something ain't right. And then just go from there, man. And I'm Audi 5000, man. I can't tell you about the other one with the dysfunction. And what's the other one?
Let me ask you
what's
something.
The other one you said, the dysfunctional family, and the other what, generational curse? Like, I can't. With the generational curse, man, that's hard.
I'm trying to cut you off. Hold on, let's back you up.
No, I'm done. I'm out of here.
I don't want you to be done, because I feel like I hear where you're going, but I want to make sure you just right there. Let's just look at the basis of it. All right, dysfunctional families. Let's talk about families and how they are in general, right? As an example, we'll use me as an example. I made my own family, right? I got a husband. I got 2 kids. I have what you have, I guess to say, a full home. So therefore, right in my immediate family, I wouldn't say that there's any dysfunction, right? My family that I came from, my mother and father, both deceased, rest in peace, divorced. I met my dad 4 times in my entire life of 35 years. Dysfunction started there. They divorced. Like I said, barely knew my dad. Great guy though, rest in peace once again. He was always a telephone to me. So there's the dysfunction right there. My mom, a single mom. Also, my mom, a very conditioned mother, didn't really make life choices and things like that due to my grandmother. I come from a family where my grandmother was like, Al Capone. When she spoke, everybody moved. If she said sit down, everybody sit down type of deal, metaphorically. You get what I'm saying? Nobody made moves. My grandmother, 9 kids, 2 baby daddies. One of them recycling situations. He wasn't in order one year, she met the other baby daddy. He wasn't in order. She go back to the other baby daddy. From what I gathered, you get what I'm saying? I want to break it down in layman's terms. So the village that I was raised under, me and my other sibling, under my conditioned mother, my grandmother, and then all of her 9 children that were present. I wouldn't say dysfunction really lied until it was my village. Like the village that I was raised under, the dysfunction definitely came from that. You had more like, how do you put it? In my family, it was like whoever the oldest child was or whoever was older, and that goes for cousins included, it was like an unspoken responsibility or a pattern to guide the next one, if that makes sense. Like one that's older got to guide the other one that's younger, because I mean, besides my dad being absent, I had other cousins that had absent either fathers or mothers. So my grandmother, she was all about family. And I hate to say it, from what I learned, me being second to last of the baby out of 19 grandchildren. So I'm the baby. I've watched all the people above me. I've had to be raised under all the people above me, my cousins, my uncles. I'm sponge. I'm taking learning lessons from everybody. And within those learning lessons and learning from those aunts and uncles, that's where I seen a lot of dysfunction. It's the church, it's the egos, it's the lack of accountability. You know what I'm saying? Those type of things where they don't necessarily say I'm sorry. They just kind of sweep it under the rug if something takes place. So it's like a lot of family members and other family members' business is what I got to see. You know what I'm saying? All that type of stuff kind of played a part to my mom's divorce. Like it seemed like all the women in my family had to be single moms, more or less. And when it came to their marriages, they're all divorced. All the men in the family, and I don't mean anything by it, they're all married to white women. So me growing up, I never got to see a real Black marriage until I went to go see my mother's second cousin side of the family, which is all my family down south. That's where I actually got, the 2-parent home family grounding of understanding, was any summer that I went to Virginia. I never seen it up here where I lived in my immediate family, except with interracial relationships. So I had no patterns of Black women really to follow or to teach me how to be a woman, like a wife in a home with a man. So that's kind of like dysfunction that I broke, you know what I'm saying? As far as like a generational curse. I mean, I have other cousins that have done it, but they're very distant. So I never got to be up close in front to see it actually happen, to know how it works. So that type of dysfunction for me, in my personal life, was something I had to unpack or learn to unlearn, or, to find a balance in, because it's like, why does everybody that, I looked at it as growing up is, why did everybody that is a Black woman in my family not get a ring or not be a wife? You know what I mean? And all the white women around me get all these rings and they're being taken care of by these wonderful men, which is my cousins and my uncles. You know what I'm saying? Not that it's a race thing, but there was no representation for me. You know what I'm saying? There was nothing for me to really guide and follow, if that makes sense, as far as dysfunction for me. And then other things that come with it, in your village. Like I said, you got religious family members, you got family members that drink, you got family members that, do drugs and things like that. And you learn to unlearn where the balance is. You got family members that's been in and out of jail. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like those type of things all shaped the dynamic of who I am to be balanced. But I went through, a lot of dysfunction along the way because, like I said, my dad wasn't in the picture. I'm being raised by like my brothers, my mom, my uncles, my aunts, and it was just a lot of different type of relationships that weren't always 100% positive. And if it was positive, it was covered up to a way type of thing. If that makes sense. If anybody can understand where I'm coming from my personal.
I understand what you're saying. I have a question for you.
Absolutely.
Because just knowing you a little bit more personal than probably a couple of the other people up on the panel, explaining how your family dynamic was growing up, and it was a large family where normally, they call it your immediate family, which is usually, the mother, father, brothers, and sisters. But it's like your immediate family was the entire family. You know what I'm saying? You guys all worked as a unit together, whether it was cousins, uncles, this, that, and the third, and it just went by age. So now the way you seen it happen and knowing you, like your family it's just you guys, like it's just you four for the most part. You know what I'm saying? And you guys take on life that way. Is that due to how you grew up and not liking the way things turned out for not even just yourself, but like the way your mom was treated or the way, certain people took control and really didn't know what they were doing? Like, is that why you kept it as just your immediate family?
To answer your question now, well, as far as family goes, since my mom died, I kind of feel like my family's died. You know what I'm saying? And I hate to say it like that, but it's like the communication is not there. Nobody checks up on anybody. It's very selective. It's very sometimey, very selective. I'm welcomed by all of my family. It's not like I'm shunned or anything like that. It's just, how many, it's like how many times would you reach out and ask and you don't get received, or you just expect certain things to be a certain way. But at the same time, I can look at it as we're all grown now for the most part. We're not children. Everybody has children. Everybody has businesses, and life and things like that. So time seems to slip away from you. But even in the time that slips away, it's like nobody really wants to get together unless somebody has died and everybody's emotional and they all want to, do something. But then when something tries to take place, it's somebody flakes, somebody doesn't want to show up, somebody doesn't want to do it. And I think it just kind of falls in line with, like I said, some family members are very sometimey and some selective. And it seems like only the selective cousins that kind of deal with the selective cousins, or the selective aunts and uncles deal with those selective people. You get what I'm saying? And because I'm somebody that's the baby, and I'm not trying to sum it up and, put blast on me, but it's like, I'm the baby. I've watched all these people that are older than me say these things to me and, drill these morals, family, 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 family. And where's the family? Nobody wants to get together. You know what I mean? It's false advertising. So with me and my personal individual family is, I no longer have to watch the hurt that I watched my mom go through with some of that false advertisement. And I no longer have to be a part of it, because when she was going through it, I was the one picking her up. I was the one trying to give her the bigger picture or how to balance it. So that's over for me. My life is literally my husband, my kids. And if we have a family event, yeah, I'll go, I'll be there, I'll support, I'll help. But as far as me going the extra mile, being emotionally attached or detached or worried about what somebody thinks or be selective, no, I won't do any of that. I deal with my cousins and family how they deal with me, and our relationships individually are just the individual relationships that is. And I guess that comes with adulthood, growth, or whatever have you. But I don't know what else to say. After my mom passed, nobody kind of looked for me, is how I look at it. And I'm not holding that as a grudge or anything like that. I'm healed from that. It's just I handle people how they handle me. My friends love me or want to be around me more than my family, from how I feel. You get what I'm saying? So it's just one of those things. I can't call it. I wish it was different. maybe it'll be different after this video. I mean, after this episode, who knows? I don't know, but I deal with my cousins and family accordingly how they see fit. I feel like the generation my mom came from, her siblings, out of all the family members that I've dealt with, like I said, from my dad's side, from down south, and then the immediate family, they have handled me in the worst way. As far as dysfunction, as far as just dysfunction. They don't talk to me proper. They deal with me as if I'm a representation of my mother, and they kind of make me pay for certain things that maybe they never got to get to make her pay for. I don't really know. It's some weird shit sometimes. Like, with all due respect, but I look at it as just some of them are conditioned. They're used to having things a certain way. They're used to still seeing me small and not an adult, being assertive. You get what I'm saying? Is how I see it. And you just got to kind of let them know. I run my own family. I'm married. I'm in a healthy relationship. There's no drama. I pay my own taxes. I work and pay my own bills. Nobody watches my kids. Nobody even spends time with my kids. So what you feel about me doesn't really matter. I could take you or I could leave you, is how I see it. You know what I'm saying? That's really how it is for me. I love my family unconditionally, but I won't take no bullshit, and I'm not going to be phony. You know what I'm saying? I can't at this point. Once the damage and hurt and all that, and you heal from that and you come out of it and you have a balance, you can't really let somebody shake the balance after you've stood, you know? So as far as my elders go, I give them their respect and I expect the same thing. As far as my cousins go, fucking love my cousins. Like, that's it. For me, but dysfunctional family that I broke some generational curses. I got married. I went to college. I don't have, felonies and things like that. I'm a law-abiding citizen. I got a pistol permit. Like, I have things in line. I did everything I needed to do to be a well-balanced adult. So that's how I see it. There's nothing dysfunctional about me.
Well, thank you, Janisha. We appreciate your perspective on dysfunctional families, and we appreciate you getting personal. Am I doing it right? Am I doing it good like her?
Yeah, can I go? I'm glad she got that out.
Yeah.
Because I know her family, and a lot of things she said came to shine a lot of light on things that I know. But anyways, like my family. So I can tell you about my family. I'm gonna point it towards my mother's side of my mother's family, because it's very, very, the generational curses in that family runs very, very deep, very deep. So, my mother's family, it goes like this. So you have women in the family, you have the men in the family. You have my grandfather, you have my grandmother. I'll start from there. My grandfather, he worked, paid all the bills, real old school people. You know what I'm saying? From Philadelphia, North Carolina. My grandmother, she stayed home, she raised the kids. My mother, I'm a lot of stuff I'm gonna tell y'all, I just learned in the past couple of years. Like, my mother and her sisters, they weren't allowed to ride bikes. They weren't allowed to do things that most men weren't allowed to do. Why my grandfather was like that, I have no idea. I had a conversation and I said and it was with my sister. And I said to my sister, I says, that sounds like some like old school. And the conversation was having, the things I was learning, I was like, wow, there's some shit. Like you said, families, especially our families, they tend to hide stuff and don't and put stuff under the rug and don't tell, and you never learn about this stuff until you're grown yourself. And so as as my mother's, all the females in the family, which would be my mother's sisters, and the males in the family, they portrayed who my grandfather was. They went to work, they provided for the family, you know what I'm saying? While the woman stayed at home. Didn't go to work. They just stayed at home, cooked the dinner, cleaned the house, So, and then it passed on to the next generation, and the next generation, and it's in my generation now. So, so what I saw also happen was, all my mother's sisters, they either married someone with money or they were poor. So the women, that's what happened. The women in the family, they either remained poor or married someone who was like my grandfather, who worked, stayed home mom, all of that, right? So then what happened was the males in the family, right, started to look at the females who in the family, which was my mother and my aunt, who had welfare, and they started to look down on them. They were less, and so were their kids, which would be me, a lot of my cousins. So the men in the family who had the families and worked, right, separated their kids from the poor kids who were still the relatives, right? And tried to basically kept us at the bottom and were better than us. And they treated us like that our whole lives. We never saw them, and then when we did see them, they would come into town or we would go there. And, they treated us differently when we were in their house. When they come to town, my uncles would come, they would bring us stuff. But my cousins, they would be like, bored and didn't really want to play with us. But it's because the conversation was being had that we didn't know about. Oh, they on welfare, they living in the projects, and this, that, and the third. So it created a huge division of my family, like huge. You have no idea. I have cousins right here in New London that I grew up that you wouldn't even know I'm related to, because they had the division was huge between us. I tell people they're my cousins, they're like, "Oh, that's your cousin?" I'm like, "Yeah, that's my cousin." Like, damn, I never knew that. Like, yeah, you wouldn't know that because they don't want you to know that, because that was that generational curse that I had to deal with for years. Okay, so so now let's bring it to the present years. Like I was saying, like a lot of my cousins I just don't have a relationship with. Now, there's only one thing, sadly, that brings us together, and I think a lot of people can attest to this: funerals. I can't hear you. Are you guys muted?
Yeah,
Okay.
I didn't want to mute. I talk while you were talking, but yes,
Oh, that's
yes.
cool. That's cool.
Funerals.
So, like I was saying,
We knew what the answer was, though.
Yep.
with us, you want to bring a bunch of black folks together, somebody died, right? And that's what it is in my family. There's no relationships, there's no love, there's no nothing. But when somebody die, okay, now everybody's around and we're all drinking and crying and all this stuff, and it's all love then. But once the funeral's over, everybody goes their own separate way. Now, the generational curse is still there in my family. But here's what's about to happen. And I'm going to try not to tear up because it's a little bit of a sad situation. But my mother is very, very ill. Okay. And she has congestive heart failure. And they want to do surgery. And I'm just not for it. And I'm like, I don't like it. I'm trying to convince my mom, look, come back to Connecticut. You live up here with your kids. We're going to take care of you to your last days. And that's just that. So eventually, I've come to terms with it. But let's be frank, this is going to be a funeral, right? And basically, in my mind, in so many words, I'm going to tell my family to kiss my ass, because everybody's trying to tell me and my sister what to do, because my mother's on her way out, and they're like, oh, don't move her back up to Connecticut, because she lives down in Rock Hill, South Carolina, and everybody has this freaking opinion about what they want my mother to do and what it's want to do with my mother. And my cousins are down south and they haven't visited my mother in years. My mother been down there for 15 years, and I can count on both hands how many times my cousins have been to visit my mother. My sister's there right now taking care of my mother. She's been there for a month and a half. No one has came there to check on. All they do is call, oh, what are y'all doing? What's going on? Why don't you come over there and see? My sister's so stressed out down south. So basically, it's to the point where, my mother passed away. God forbid. I want her to be here as long as possible. But that's reality, right? So like I said, that day comes, the way I'm breaking that generational curse, and I'm telling everybody to kiss my ass, because one of all the shit that has happened from a kid to now, it's disgusting. And don't try to console me. Don't try to say, oh, give my mother her flowers while she's here. You didn't do that. To me, it's too late now. too late. Don't even try it. Just move on with your life, and I'm gonna move on with mine. And like you said, you know, you got to learn how to separate yourself. You know, and that's something I also learned the last couple of years is this, right? You have your family and you have your relatives. They're two different. Your family, your mother, your father, your sister, your brothers, your kids. Everyone past that is a relative. Aunts, uncles, cousins, or they relatives. Because nobody past that is really going to care. And if I'm wrong and other families are different than that, and I'm sure they are, because on my father's side is totally different. But that's the way I treat my mother's side, is that you have your family and you have your relatives.
I mean, even if you think about it, like in certain jobs that offer FMLA, like Family Medical Leave Act, you're only allowed to take that out with your immediate family, which is considered your mother, your father, your kids, or your brother and sister. That's the only way you can legally use FMLA. So even on that,
Not to cut you off, some jobs will allow an aunt and uncle depending on.
Some will.
Because my job does. I'm only saying that, but it's not as long as you would get if it was the immediate family. I just want to put that out there.
Yeah.
So I got a couple questions, yo. I mean, a couple. They're gonna be like two way off, things. But you said that and I'm sorry to hear that about your moms and shit. You said that she's thinking about getting surgery.
Oh yeah, so she has congestive heart failure. So what happens and she has like the high stage. Like some people have it and they're still giving water pills and all this stuff. My mother, the fluid is building up around her heart. So like every 2 weeks, it's first of all, it started at like a month.
Yeah.
Now it's coming down to where it was 3 weeks. Now she's got it every 2 weeks. Now it's down to like a week, maybe a week and a half, where she's got to get the fluid drained from around her heart. So they want to send her to some clinic in Cleveland. My sister wants to take her to some clinic in Cleveland so they could do open heart surgery. Now, mind you, my mother's 80 years old. She's very frail. And I just don't like it. You know what I'm saying? I just feel like, and I don't want to, I'd rather see my mom old, deteriorating, but she could still talk. She could still eat. She could still do all this stuff. You know what I mean? She's still a little mobile versus she go do this surgery, she strokes out, she's on a ventilator, and I'm like sitting over the bed staring at her like, yo, what the fuck are we gonna do? We're gonna pull the plug or let her live like this? Like, no, I'm not doing that. That's why I'm trying to get her back up here now so I can enjoy my mom. But there's a little between me and my sister, there's a little friction here because my sister wants to do it. I don't want to do it. But my sister's power of attorney, I can't say no or yes. It's the final decision up to my sister. I
feel like the final decision should be up to your mom.
Yeah, it kind of is.
You sound like, and I get it. I probably say the same shit about my mom. You know what I'm saying? And I'll probably be thinking about myself. But because like when you was talking, you had already basically said like you have already come to terms that she's gonna be gone sooner than you would like. So with that being said, if she feels like the surgery would help her, why wouldn't you be okay with accepting her making that decision and not be okay with worried about what your mom must feel strong? She's 80 years old. She feel other people built different. You know what I'm saying? So if she feels strong enough to like want to attempt that to give you a couple more years, you know what I'm saying? Hopefully, 10, 20 more years, you know what I'm saying? But like, why wouldn't you want to support that?
Well,
that's one question. This is still one question.
I would support it, but it's more. She has more than congestive heart failure. She has a list of things. It's not just that. That's the main thing. She has kidney problems. She's diabetic. Like there's a whole lot of things into factor. And maybe I've watched Soul Food too many times, but that scene right there just does something to me. Like I can't. And it's only me and my sister who are the kids. Like I just. And maybe I am being selfish and unselfish at the same time, but the vision in my head is like, all right.
It's tough. It's
tough. It is tough.
But you gotta think that your mother also thought about all this. You know what I'm saying? She's the one that ultimately has to live with whatever, or that's the bad word that's not a good word to use
No,
right
that's
now.
fine. No, you're
She's the
absolutely
one that,
right.
she's the one that I'm pretty sure she's thought about this. You know what I'm saying? This ain't something she just was like, okay, heard it and was like, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like she probably thought about this. So if she feels like strong enough to want to do that, you gotta be, strong enough to like.
I think what she's done though, I can say this. I think. Oh, I'm sorry. I think what she's done is because she didn't want to move back up here, but I got on the phone with her and I said, "Mom, why don't you come back up here with your kids so we can take care of you?" And she agreed, and I was the only one able to do that.
Let me say this, and I like I said, I don't know your family.
I don't mean to. Listen,
nah, it's
okay.
Listen, I first of all, I ain't gonna,
I get it. Yeah, I get it.
I'm gonna say it like this though.
Because
yeah, Mom. And it's not an easy decision, no matter what it is. It's not. And when you know what's gonna happen, I can understand exactly what you mean because you try to brace yourself for it, even though you know it's coming, and you go through the motions very well because you do know it's coming when it does come, whenever it is. Yep. And it's not ultimately until everything is done and everybody's gone and everybody's living their respective lives and you're the one left with, the aftermath. And I want to say this to you. I commend you, even though you aren't the power of attorney, trying to, be respectable to your sister, because 9 times out of 10, what I've noticed, not just with me, but a lot of people that I do know that had lost their moms or their fathers, mainly with women specifically, it's in our face as a caretaker. Like it's in our face every day.
Yeah.
And you don't stop seeing it after it's over. You don't sleep.
Yeah.
You I can't speak for her, but it was rough. Like really rough. And it was a lot to to unpack. And it's stuff that my brother didn't get a chance to see. But he picked up the slack when it came to everything being finalized, because it's one to be a caretaker, it's another to deal with all the paperwork and the assets and the life insurance, and it gets to be really heavy. So for any of you guys that do have your moms, try to get as much in order, or make sure she has, or he has, or whoever your loved one has as much in order as possible. Because me, I lost my child at home. I had to regroup like for every fucking thing, and doing all that with a husband that's mourning with you, and then two mentally challenged kids. I can't even get it out sometimes. Like it makes you angry, because then it makes you mad because you have all these fake family members, and you don't want to call them fake because not all of them are. But the representation of being there is a false illusion. It's an illusion.
So true.
It's an illusion. And it's a lot of getting comfortable with yourself to face these people afterwards when you're no longer angry. And then sometimes you have to look at how they look at you, because you know that they know what you know. It's weird. It's like an unspoken thing. Like I said, I love my cousins. I'm not angry at any of my cousins. I'm not angry at anybody in my family. I was, but I've been there before when my grandma died. So it's one of those natural things, you see the ugly in people when people die, or you see the absent in people when people die. And I want to say this to you, Rashad. You might feel like kiss my ass now, and you're very rightfully so, but it won't last that way forever. So only advice that I can give you, that if and when it does, make sure when you are telling somebody to kiss your ass, it's the right person. You get what I'm saying? Make sure it's the person that you really, your focus is so clear that that person is not who they're in the corner. They're just there to be nosy, or just there to see you while you down. You get what I'm saying? You have to figure all that out. And when you go through your parents' assets after they're gone, you find out the most amazing things about people, the most amazing. And then sometimes you got to be like, what choices did they make in order for them to do that? Or why did they do that? Or why this? It's a lot of unpacking during the situation and after. But I don't want to stick on that long, because, I got past it. I'm past it. I am past it. I am trying to salvage what's left. Like, so my cousins and our relationships don't end up like my moms and their siblings, because my moms and their siblings fucking forget it. Like, fucking forget it. But my cousins, I'm here. I'm open, no judgment, no problems. But I want to hear from Lyric today, and I want to hear from Gaines, and I want to
Here
hear
we
from
go.
Catherine. Gaines, please, by all the means, brother.
Go ahead, Lyrics. We're gonna pass it on to you, my good man. How are you this evening?
Oh, I'm doing good. Y'all hit on a lot of topics. A lot of topics. My mom just recently passed away from breast cancer. You know, she didn't want to do the chemo. I wanted her to do the chemo. People were telling me, you know, you're being selfish. So I had to come to terms with that. I think what it was that made me mad was I had all these family members now trying to tell me and tell my sister what we should do when you really haven't been there for her. You know, it's hard to watch that. And I'm a firm believer in love you from a distance. So if I'm trying to, let's say, change something about myself for growth and I see you're hindering that, oh, I'll cut you off real quick. I ain't got time to play. I'm 30, finna be 39 this month. You know, I ain't got time to play. I have congestive heart failure. You know, I got a lot of health stuff going on with me. So I don't have time to play with fake family members and stuff like that. Like, nah, you gotta go. I'll stick with the ones that I know love me. So I really don't even have too much interaction with my family at this point in my life. So that's how I deal with it. Like, if you ain't here for me, you gotta go.
All right, thank you for sharing that. And the second part, how do we fix generational curses?
Yeah. Generational curses. First, you have to start with unlearn everything you think you know, whether it's religion, whether it's family history, whether it's, you know, anything. You have to unlearn all that bullcrap and figure out what works for you. Like for me, for instance, the men in my family don't take care of their kids at all. So for me growing up, that's all I saw, men not taking care of their kids. And I wanted to be one to change that. So what I had to do was, and keep in mind, I don't have any kids because, like I said, I've been going through a lot of health issues. So, you know, ain't too much time to think about kids. But what I've done for the other kids in my family whose fathers ain't there, I try to be the male in their lives that tells them they love them. You know, put myself in the places for those family members that don't have dads. So that's what I do for that generational curse.
All right, thank you, sir. We appreciate your perspective. Pablo, on you, my good man.
He kind of brought it to where I was gonna bring it. I mean, I feel like every family's got dysfunction, but the probably the one that stood out for me as far as like what me growing up was just like my dad not being around. You know, it kind of I like it all it really did for me, you know what I mean, was basically show me how I show me things I didn't want my children to ever go through. It's funny I had all boys, so you know, I had nothing but opportunity to break that generational curse. So yeah, I mean, that's I would have brought it to that as far as like dysfunctional family. Like you said, I'm big on loving people from a distance. I don't need to be all up in somebody's face to feel like I love them or they love me. Um,
Right.
I'm immediately concerned with my immediate family. You know what I'm saying? Like the people I live with,
Right.
the people I see
The
with
ones
every
right here.
day. Yeah, my siblings, my mom, you know what I mean? And then, my girl, my stepdaughter, shit like that. And
Yeah.
and yeah, I just try to, I don't know, like my kids have two, they're seeing parents in two different households and shit like that. So they're growing up with that shit, but I try to make that easy for them. Like, they with their moms, they doing all right over there, and then they come with me and they doing all right as well. So, I don't know. I don't feel like that's too much of a bad thing, but yeah, as far as breaking generational curses, like, my three boys is growing up doing things that you know, doing shit, that I wish I could do. And
Right.
they don't have to experience certain feelings that I felt growing up as a kid without a father. So yeah, that's all I gotta say.
Thank you for your perspective, sir. Catherine, back to you, boss.
Catherine, would you like to give your perspective?
Yeah. Sorry, I was having a little trouble unmuting my thing. So the first half of this is what games? Just to
Handling dysfunctional family. Handling them. How would you handle them?
Yeah, so handling dysfunctional family, honestly, is something that I'm currently working on and working through at 32 years old. And I don't have it like figured out. Obviously, I don't know that I'll ever have it figured out, but I know that I'm in a much better place dealing with it than I was, growing up into my 20s, into when I turned 30. And with me, I was in and out of foster homes growing up. And when I was with my mom, my mom was an alcoholic, substance abuse and stuff like that. And she had 4 children, 3 boys, with me being the only girl and the baby. And I'm 6 years younger than my youngest brother. So they kind of all like had each other. Like, they were a little bit older than me. So, you know what I mean? Like when my mom was in her states or whatever, they kind of were at friends' houses and things like that. So I got left to deal with a lot of stuff like by myself. And then also with me being a girl, it was kind of like, my brothers don't want to like hang out with their little sister. So then with my dad, I like kind of grew up with like 2 dads. Like one year, this was my dad, my mom would tell me. And then like the next year, this would be my dad. The following year, this would be my dad. So like I grew up very confused. And it's not like either one of them were there anyways. You know what I'm saying? Like even if this one was my dad that year, like he still was MIA. So I think that and I didn't realize it until I got a little bit older that I don't want to say I have daddy issues, like, because I don't want to make it sound weird. But my father recently had to come and stay with me for a little bit as he was going through a divorce. And him staying there, I really realized I was like, I think I have daddy issues. And it helped me realize a lot of the relationships that I have been in with men. And it's almost like I do the most to like get like an ounce of love out of a man. You know what I'm saying? Like I'll friggin' go through the storm. I'll bail you out of jail. I'll stay home. I'll do this. I'll do that. I'll ride in the passenger seat. Like, but you love me, right? Like you love me. And it's crazy because like I really like, I mean, I'm like that anyways. Like if I love you, like I'm always down for the cause, but I just don't think I'm the type of girl that deserves to be wrung dry before being acknowledged that I am loved. You know what I'm saying? So it started young. Like I really didn't have anybody there for me. So being alone was something very hard for me. And I realized that I became very codependent, which would then leave me dealing with people who were essentially no good for me just because I needed somebody to be around and I didn't want to be by myself. And that was good enough for me. You know what I'm saying? Until I realized that those type of people were, you know, pouring like toxicity into who I am as a person. Now, I got very sick and I ended up in the hospital. And when I was in the hospital, they were, you know, talking about hospice, you know, like they weren't sure that I was going to make it. And while I was in the hospital, the people that I love the most, like, I mean, they showed up and showed out like no other. And I don't know what it was, but it was like me being in the hospital for that time and the way that people treated me then, like when they came in, sat down, had these talks with me, like for the first time in my life, like I felt like somebody like they actually loved me, you know what I'm saying? And I think that a lot of my life I felt very unloved, so I just looked for it wherever and kind of accepted it from whoever, like even though it was like and like this, it was like the worst kind of love that you could get. So like when I came out of the hospital, I just did a lot of soul searching, you know what I mean? Like once I realized like, look, I'm loved, like people, our parents have gone through things like we went through things. Their parents have gone through things like they went through things. And everybody deals with those emotions, those mental issues that are caused from those type of things. Everybody deals with it differently. Um, I've chosen to forgive majority of the people who have treated me the way they do. And that's a self thing so that I can continue to grow and not be angry and not be sad. And so that I can give my son something different than I had and stay clear headed and not fall victim to those mental issues that are there. Like they knock on the door constantly, you know what I'm saying? But I go to behavioral health, you know what I'm saying? Like I reach out, I talk to friends. I'm very open and I'm very honest about things that I have gone through, things that I go through, the anger that I experience. I cry if I want to cry. Like, I don't care. We could be in a car and I'll burst out into tears. Like, and I'm like, yo, I don't need you to give me a hug, like nothing. Like, I gotta let it out. You know what I'm saying? And as far as breaking curses, um, you know, and this kind of like Rashad, like what you were saying, like, you know, I'm gonna tell everybody kiss my ass and this and a third. And I don't know the full dynamic. I wasn't there, obviously. I'm sure there's a lot that I don't know, but make sure that you're doing it for the right reasons. You know what I'm saying? Because, you know, for the moment, it may feel good to say that, but I'll tell you what feels even better is forgiving people, whether they know or whether they don't know, and then turning towards your own immediate family that you built and being different and teaching them better, because that's the only way to break that generational curse. Because sometimes when you're blinded by anger, you don't realize that you're actually doing the same things that you grew up despising, if that makes any sense. So what I used to think that I would put up with from certain people just because I thought that's, you know, that's my mom or that's my dad, or like, I love this person, like, you know, it's not that big of a deal. I walk right away from it. Like, you're not going to talk to me a certain type of way. You're not going to treat me a certain type of way. And either you want to be around me and you want me in your life. And if you do, you need to realize that there's rules to this. There is rules to all of this. You don't get to handle me any way you want and think that you still have access to me, because you don't. And I'm not going to be mean about it. I don't need to cuss you out. Like, I don't need to tell the whole world, like, unless you're a menace to society and I need to warn people to look out for you. Not just joking, but I'm dead serious. But yeah, and I just keep it pushing and I deal with my emotions accordingly. That way I can stay a strong-minded woman so that I can raise my son to know that, like, you know, there are going to be obstacles in life. Like, it's not always going to be easy. Like, some people are dealing with demons that you could never tame or you could never even understand. And that has nothing to do with you as a person. You just have to wake up every day and do the best that you can and be a good person, no matter the situation. And anybody who takes you outside of that, remove yourself from them immediately and continue on your journey to happiness, because demons don't have no gender preference, no nothing. Like, they will attack from all angles. So with the whole storm of my life that I've been through, I think that at 32, I'm firm, like my legs are strong, like I could really handle anything, but it doesn't come as often as it does because I know the signs and I know what to look out for. So that's just my take on that.
Thank you so much, G, for your perspective. That was very heavy. That was honest. That was personal. And believe it or not, I resonate with a lot of that as far as that, you know, just to sum up, daddy issues and finding love in the wrong places. That was definitely very, I mean, you were there for some of that. So you already know how that went, you know, you give your love into the wrong places and things like that. And it's heavy. It's one of those things you have to, like Timmy said, you have to learn and unlearn. Before we go around the room to wrap it up, I got a message from an individual that did want to join us tonight, but they're a little bit nervous to share some of their personal experiences just because it's a territory that they're not really ready to, you know, exhibit. But they did send me a question in particular that I do want to address just for the show. They stated DNA testing should be mandatory at birth, and it shouldn't be something that's frowned upon because sometimes you really have to make sure your father is your father. And that kind of resonated with what G was talking about. She said, you know, one year, you know, she thought her dad was her dad and she was confused and things like that. So this individual has experienced being raised by a man that they thought was their father for a very long period of time, and their father is very prominent in the area, and turns out that individual is not that individual's father. So they found that out by doing, you know, ancestry.com. They've confronted their parents, and it's just not a subject that is ever really getting or reaching ground for that person's personal life. So for that person's personal life, they just wanted me to bring that up tonight to put awareness out that, you know, sometimes it's okay to really fact check where you come from, which is what Timmy was stating earlier. I mean, Lyric stated earlier, you know, it's important to unlearn some things that you know and relearn what you want to learn about yourself, because sometimes what you've been told just might not be it. So unfortunately, that is very common in not just our community, but a lot of places in the world where people are raised by certain people that they think they're their parents and they just aren't. So that's a very painful, confusing twist. I have not experienced that. I've been told rumors by family members that my father is not my father. That was something to unpack as well. My mom's not here to really clarify that, even though she was a 1,000,000,000% sure that my father was my father. And I feel that my father's my father because you can look at him and tell we look alike. So there's that. You know, those type of things are very common. And we can touch more bases on that for the Talk Your Shit season finale if that person is interested in touching bases on that. I'd like to really appreciate everybody tonight. For one, being a sympathetic ear, because I really didn't expect to unpack all that during the show. But I mean, hey, this is what this is about. It's a safe space to be heard. That's what we created it for. So why not? And I just want to know if anybody had any loose ends to tie up tonight before we close out. A-Town? You know I'm going to you, A-Town. I don't care. I want to hear your voice.
I'm gonna go first before A-Town go.
You've been brushing everybody the whole night, man. Wait till the end, Duke. You dead last.
This is dead last. I'm the last person.
All right, so you know what? I ain't got nothing to add on. Y'all have a wonderful forever, and thanks for everybody for sharing their treacherous endeavors, and maybe we can learn from that and earn from that. You know what I'm saying? Now that we know better, we can glow better. You feel me? Like a blind man reading Braille. As you should. All right, games.
Thank you, kind sir. That was kind of you. So yeah, now on the topic, dysfunctional families, how I would deal with them, I just wouldn't. I've been there, done that. No need, I got a similar story too, just like everybody else, and I ain't even capping. I just don't even share the shit. Fuck them niggas, and that's how I keep it 100 like that. As far as generational curses is concerned, how do we break them? Real simple. I see a lot of times people post online with this, oh, I'm gonna give my kid everything I never had. Why not just give him, better yet, teach him everything you never knew? That's it, right? You know better now, so do better. Teach him what you know now, what you wish you knew then. Quite simple. It's really not hard. As far as Catherine saying, giving love, me too, man. It was some crazy shit, man. Giving it all these chicks, Brenda, Letitia, Linda, Felicia, Inez and all of them. Oh, you know how that go, right? So now, that's just what that was, though. You know what I mean? That's how we gonna sum that up from my side. So we gonna pass it on to Lyrics. If you got any final words, my good man.
All I want to say is, as you get older, you can only do what's best for you. And if it's having to cut a family member out because they not moving forward the way you want to, cut them off. Yeah.
Thank you. Rashad, what do you got, my good man? Final thoughts.
Final thought is, I like what Catherine said. Forgiveness is definitely key. Forgiveness. You really have to learn to forgive people, because if you don't forgive people, it just becomes your pain. You know what I'm saying? So forgiving is definitely a huge piece. And thanks for having me again. I love all you guys. You guys are great. I appreciate you having me on here, and I would love to be here again whenever.
Oh, we love having you, Lorenz Tate, Mr. President,
Especially with the subject of reparations. I'll just say that.
Sir, talk your shit season finale, because that is not something we are finished with. We have that. That is our season finale. We have plenty of individuals this time. We have some more daring people this time that really want to touch some of these topics that we had for this season and last season, which is interesting enough. So I'm very intrigued to see how that's going to go. It's gonna be a good one this time, and we'd love to have you, of course, absolutely, Rashad, Lyric, anybody of our other panelists. Guest speakers, love to have them.
Catherine,
absolutely.
We see you ready.
Thank you. Now, because it seems like when it comes to the loose ends, I don't know if I talk too much on my turn, but it's like niggas never want to give me my loose ends.
Now I heard you. Go for it.
Thank you. First I wanted to say, what's up, Rashad? Because I really
let me give you a hug, though.
a little air hug. You know what I'm saying? You already know what it is.
I heard you.
I'm gonna drink a bottle of water as soon as I hang up, too.
Thank you.
I'm gonna send you a video. Pause.
I heard you.
Now I don't know.
And if you don't, I'm gonna post it in the group. If you don't,
okay. I wanted to say, Rashad, I was for real asking about you, because I couldn't find your Facebook or anything like that. You know what I'm saying? From the last time you were on, and just like your presence on Facebook, regardless. And I had wrote to Janisha, I'm like, where's Councilman Tate? You know what I'm saying? I know Power be cutting the seasons and we be having to wait a couple of weeks, but where's my man's pots and pans at? So it's really good to see you. And Lyrics, it's really nice meeting you. I'm sorry about your mom, and I wish you the best with all your health endeavors. I hope that you're taking care of yourself, and blind eye to all the negativity or anybody who brings you any unnecessary stress or anything like that. And I will tell you, keeping a positive mindset, for real, hitting people up, text messages, just talking, laughing, making jokes. It makes all the difference when it comes to your health, because when I was really sick, every day I was like that. People were like, I'm so shocked at how dapper you are and how happy with what you're dealing with. And I'm like, what I'm gonna do? Sit around and act angry? And a lot has changed in my situation for the way that I believe, for the way that I carried it. So I just want you to keep a positive mindset, and I wish you all the best with your health. Seriously.
Sure, for sure. Thank you. Thank you.
And then the last thing I wanted to say is shout out to my brothers, because not for nothing, and I didn't realize this until now, not right now, but in this year of finding myself, I had 3 fathers growing up. You know what I'm saying? I didn't need neither one of them clowns that was in and out my life and coming around and all that. Like, they taught me so much in the hoodest way possible. And I love and appreciate them so much, because I wouldn't be who I was without them. And without that type of guidance, you know what I'm saying, I could have been one of them chicks that washed up on shore and, you know what I'm saying, like, pass here and there. And not that I'm saying anything to women like that, because sometimes you just don't know any better. But I'm just happy that I am who I am. And I want to let my brothers know that I love them for all the knowledge that they gave me. And, you know what I'm saying, just put me onto game for real. Because now I'm the Big Mac mostly out in these streets. You heard me?
Settle down, gangster.
Nah. She is though. I gotta give her that. So you know what
I'm about to say, you better ask about me.
And
like,
not for nothing.
Crazy.
I ain't even trying to piggyback. I ain't even trying to piggyback.
Will do.
I
when I see you though, when I see you walking like a G for real.
Facts.
My name don't come from nowhere.
Not to piggyback off
Here we go.
G, you know, your brothers, my brothers. I got a lot of brothers too, even though they didn't come from my mom, and my cousins, and like the male steeples in my family. Yeah, I wouldn't be the woman that's balanced without none of them. So that is a fact. I will definitely handle that to them.
We stand a real king. We stand a real king.
Absolutely. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, not for nothing. Shout out to my family, you know, that is around, that looks out for me, and anybody else, my friends, most importantly, too, because they have become my family. This panelists, you guys have become my panelists, you know, my family as well. You know, you guys all pick me up, you know, when I'm down. So shout out to you guys, Gaines, A-Town, Lyric, because don't think you ain't never held me down writing little books and stories for me too when I've had my dark days. You know what I'm saying? You guys are
for sure
just as strong as my brothers and my cousins, like my male figures and male family. That's what shaped me to be the great wife that I am to my king. So, you know, shout out to y'all.
And Rashad and Lyrics, if you guys are on YouTube, make sure you go.
I said Paul too. I said Paul. Nah, Paul, I said my brother. You like my brother. Paul, you know you came through for me.
We gonna run that shit back.
You came through for me, Paul. You my brother.
Run that shit back like chocolate milk. Don't comment.
Chocolate milk.
Chocolate milk.
YouTube. What's on YouTube?
You see what I'm saying?
All the episodes are on YouTube.
Yeah. Run that back. Yeah.
It's new
in the block. Yeah.
Listen, simmer down, chocolate milk.
Yo, can I get my loose end in? Can I get my loose end in, yo? Can I get my loose end?
Oh, Paul, listen, Paul gets the first one for. Go ahead.
My bad. YouTube, News London Brunch, Rashad, Lyrics, make sure you guys go like, share, and subscribe. But mainly like and subscribe, okay? We're up on our subscribers, and let's keep it going, because we going up to the top. And now, Pablo,
we're gonna close out with you, brother.
My loose ends is, y'all niggas have a good night. New London's going to sign out right now. Let's go.
You guys,
New London, stand up.
New London, stand up.
Hold on. News London Brunch.
News London Brunch with a Z.
NEWZ.
Yo, you with the wild old shit, boy. Like, what's up with you, Chad?
What you mean, man? I'm tired. I gotta get up early.
He on the phone with where your bifocals? Put those on. Fuck out of here. Yeah.
You have subscribed.
That's us.
That's
it. Brunch. Hey, you guys, bless y'all. Also,
you gotta go watch that Kyrie video. That one's mad funny.
Happy New Year to y'all too. You know, we in the New Year.
Happy New Year.
You know, it really starts in April. You know, don't let them tell you that, but you know, we here.